Chapter 21. McQueen was giving the race everything he had. He was hard on Chick's tail, but Chick was doing everything in his power to block McQueen. There was the grinding of scraping metal as the two cars rubbed together. "No, you don't," Chick snarled. Just then, one of McQueen's tires burst. "Doc, I'm flat," he cried. "I'm flat." "Bring it in," Doc commanded as the yellow flag dropped, signaling that there was debris on the track. That meant the race was temporarily suspended. The other cars had to slow down and follow the pace car while the debris was removed. "Don't tear yourself up, kid." Doc knew that they had to get McQueen back onto the track before the pace car came around. Otherwise, McQueen would fall behind again. "Guido," Doc shouted. "It's time."
"Hey, Tiny," one of Chick's pitties teased. "You going to clean its windshield?"
Chick's pitties laughed as McQueen pulled in, but Guido ignored them. This was his lifelong dream, to give the ultimate pit stop. And he was ready. In one fluid movement, Guido tossed the tires into the air and bolted them onto McQueen before they could hit the ground. Guido looked at Chick's stunned pit crew and blew on his torque gun. Then he offered the only English he knew. "Pit stop." "Guido, you did it!" Luigi cried as McQueen pulled back onto the track, moving into place behind the pace car. "Did you see that, Bob?" Daryl cried from the announcer's booth. Bob gaped in awe. "That was the fastest pit stop I've ever seen." On the track, the green flag dropped and the three cars surged forward, racing at a furious pace. "This is it," Bob announced with excitement. "We're heading into the final lap, and McQueen is right behind the leaders. What a comeback!" "This is it, kiddo," Doc said as McQueen closed in on Chick and the King. "You've got 4 turns left, one at a time. Drive it in deep and hope it sticks." McQueen headed toward the first turn, eyes narrowing with determination. "Go," Doc cried, and McQueen did. He pushed everything he had into high gear. Seeing his rival make his move, Chick quickly cut to bash McQueen against the wall, but McQueen was too fast. Chick missed him. But Chick didn't slow down. Instead, he drove forward, ramming his front bumper into McQueen's rear. McQueen spun wildly toward the infield. But McQueen wasn't about to give up. At the last moment, he cut right to go left, just the way Doc had taught him. With a smooth swerve, he shot back onto the track in the lead. "McQueen has taken the lead," Daryl announced to the audience. "Lightning McQueen is going to win the Piston Cup." Chick and the King had fallen behind McQueen, but Chick wasn't giving up either. If he couldn't win, he could at least come in second. "I'm not coming in behind you again, old man," he cried as he rammed the King, causing the King to spin to the wall. Crash! The crowd gasped as the King stopped in the infield, battered, dented, and unable to move. McQueen was moving toward the finish line when he heard the boos. Confused, he looked at the giant television screen and saw the King. He wasn't moving. An image of Doc flashed into McQueen's mind. Doc had looked the same way in the photo of the fabulous Hudson Hornet's famous crash. McQueen screeched to a stop right before the finish line. "Yeah!" Chick hollered as he shot past McQueen. "Woohoo! I won, baby! Yeah! Oh, yeah! Woohoo!" "What's he doing, Doc?" Flo whispered as she watched McQueen. He was inches from the finish line and still hadn't moved. Suddenly, McQueen put himself into reverse and headed back to the king. "What are you doing, kid?" the king asked as McQueen approached. He was completely wiped out, but not completely broken. McQueen could see that. "I think the king should finish his last race," McQueen said humbly. And then, as gently as he could, McQueen began to push the king toward the finish line. "You just gave up the Piston Cup," the king pointed out. "You know that?" This grumpy old race car I know once told me something," McQueen said as he helped the king to the end of the track. "It's just an empty cup." Doc smiled proudly as he listened on his radio. Meanwhile, Chick was hooting in triumph, circling in the infield. Woo-hoo-hoo! It took him a moment to realize that no one was cheering with him. In fact, no one was even watching him. "Hey, what?" He stopped in his tracks. "What's going on?" McQueen pushed the king across the finish line, and the crowd erupted in cheers. The stadium went crazy at the sight of one of the proudest moments in racing history. "Way to go, buddy!" Mater hollered. Tears welled up in Fillmore's eyes. "There's a lot of love out there, you know, man." "Don't embarrass me, Fillmore," Sarge grunted. The only one who wasn't impressed was Chick. He raced into the winner's platform impatiently. "Come on, baby," he said. "Bring it out. Bring out the Piston Cup. Ka-chinka, ka-chinka." But nobody came out to deliver the cup. Instead, someone tossed it onto the stage, where it clattered to the floor beside Chick. No one cheered. "Now, that's what I'm talking about right there. Yeah!" Chick crowed. He looked around at the silent spectators. "Hey, how come the only one celebrating is me, huh? Where are the girls? Come on, where's the fireworks? Bring on the confetti." A confetti cannon let out a shot and hit Chick's bumper hard. "Ow! Hey, easy with the confetti. What's going on? Come on, snap some cameras. Let's wrap this up. I gotta go sign my deal with Dynaco," Chick said, starting to realize that no one cared. The crowd started to boo. "What's wrong with everybody?" Chick demanded as a few of the cars started throwing rubbish onto the stage. Hey, this is the start of the Chick era." Chick finally gave up, grabbed his Piston Cup, and rolled away. But McQueen didn't pay attention to any of that. He was too busy pushing the king toward the Dynaco tent. Then, as the king's wife hurried over to give her husband a kiss, McQueen quietly headed to the Rusty's tent. His whole pit crew had gathered there, along with the goofy brothers from Rusty's, who had given McQueen his start in racing. "You made us proud, kid," one of the brothers said affectionately. "Congratulations on the loss, me bucko," Mac said. Doc smiled at the younger racing car. "You got a lot of stuff, kid." "Thanks, Doc." "Hey, Lightning," Tex Dynaco called from the front of the Dynaco tent. "How about coming over here and talking to me for a minute?" McQueen drove over to join him. "Son, that was some real racing out there," Tex said to McQueen. "How'd you like to become the new face of Dynaco?" McQueen looked up at the fancy Dinoco tent area. The helicopter gave him a wink. But I didn't win, McQueen pointed out. Lightning, Tex went on, there's a whole lot more to racing than just winning. McQueen was tempted. It was everything he'd always dreamed of. Dinoco was a great company with a lot of money, and Tex seemed like a really great guy. Still, McQueen looked at the Rusty's tent, where the two brothers were telling their usual lousy jokes. He couldn't help smiling. Thank you, Mr. Tex, McQueen told the mogul. But those Rusty's guys over there gave me my big break. I think I'm going to stick with them. Well, I sure can respect that, Tex said sincerely. Still, you know, if there's ever anything I can do for you, just let me know. I sure appreciate that. Thank you, McQueen thought for a moment. Actually, he said, there is one thing.